Banks are buying up gold in record numbers. Should you be concerned? How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Empire Precious Metals. Stormy here. If you're new to the channel, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a guy in a bucket talking about precious metals, so make sure you blast that subscribe button, get the bell notification click. That way you get updated with any new content. Today we are talking about this stuff, gold. These beautiful yellow, shiny rocks. The reason we're talking about gold is because there are a lot of things that are currently happening in the world that is causing central banks to be buying up gold. First and foremost, we saw that the United States just hit $30 trillion in debt. That is just absolutely astounding. To say that it's a shocker, though, I would be kidding you. I'm really not surprised, nor do I think any people in the stacking community or people such as yourself watching this video, I bet you're also not really surprised. You probably found this video looking for more information about gold and the importance of owning it. The other thing, too, we've been monitoring what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. The more that Russia continues to ratchet up its forces along the Ukrainian border, the more the world gets a little bit uneasy, and that usually causes that uncertainty and causes a price jump in precious metals, in particular gold. People view gold as a safe haven, as a store of wealth, a hedge against inflation. And when you see any type of either economic crisis or any instability in the world, you are going to see people, investors, and regular people on Main Street going to this stuff here because it gives them a sense of security. Now, I've been buying this stuff since the mid-2000s. I believe in it. I like to put a lot of my money in gold because I do find that it is, number one, a great way of saving money, but it's also, like I said, it's a store of wealth. As the United States dollar continues to be printed into oblivion, we see the price of gold continue to increase. Now, I do have a special guest on for today who's going to talk about this more because, let's just face it, they're a little bit more educated and they are experts in gold. I'm just like you. I'm somebody who buys this stuff, believes in it, and decides to make YouTube videos about the stuff. But I have a very special guest, which I'm going to introduce right now. It's Alastair Still, the CEO of Gold Mining Inc., and he's going to talk about why some of these central banks are hoarding gold and some other ways that you should be putting your money to work for you when it comes to gold assets. Extremely excited to have Alastair Still, CEO of Gold Mining Inc. Alastair, how are you?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on today. Pleasure to be here.
I'm really excited. You know, any opportunity that I have to talk about gold, you know, I always get really excited about the subject. So, you know, really happy that you were able to take the time to speak with me. You know, I have a bunch of questions that I'm curious about. And before we actually start talking about your company, there are some things that are going on in the world that I think is so important for investors, people that are, you know, enthusiasts about gold and silver. And I always like to pick the experts' brains on this topic. So, you know, right now we're seeing central governments. They are, you know, it seems like they're less trustworthy of the dollar. They're adding more gold reserves than ever before. You know, what is going on here?
Well, I think you will have noticed, and certainly all of your followers will have noticed, that we're in some turbulent waters, and in the general sense, in terms of global economies. We've had a pandemic, which we're working our way through right now. We've seen record levels of inflation. So people are more than ever are talking about the economy and how it now it directly impacts their daily lives. And I think once we're in situations like that, where there's uncertainty, there's some political strife in the world, there's worries, you know, what may happen in Russia, with the Ukraine, various other parts of the world. Whenever we get into those typical times of uncertainty, I think that's when people actually turn back to something they can trust and they can put their hand on, they can feel, and it's real. And I think nothing better than gold. And gold effectively acts as a currency. It's done it for millennia. It's stood the test of time, and it's a great store of value. And I think people will turn to gold in those uncertain times, and that's why I think there's a great opportunity for an increase in the price of gold.
I've said so many times on my channel, I'm very bullish on gold. I don't get nervous anytime there's a pullback in the spot price. I actually get really excited because I view it as a buying opportunity. And the fact that you are bringing up, what's going on with Russia on the border of Ukraine. Last week, United States said that we're going to commit 3,000 troops over to Europe, just to kind of show some solidarity with our allies. But I've been telling people, just like you said, it's a trusted store of wealth. It's stood the test of time. Right now, I feel that people should be buying gold. Do you think this is a great opportunity for people to not only just investing in it, but owning the physical gold assets?
I think absolutely. I mean, fundamentally, I think it should form a core part of anyone's portfolio, certainly on, even as a divestiture or diversification strategy. I mean, not to take anything away from other investments, but, at least with gold, you know what it is, you know where it is, and you know what the value is. It's not arbitrarily assigned. It's not going to disappear overnight. It's not based on zeros and ones. It's a physical product. There's only a finite amount of it available on the planet. You can't create it. It has to be found and discovered, and that helps create the value. I think that it is a core part of a portfolio. Certainly, the physical metal is one thing, but certainly in the companies that explore for it and extract it, they can do very well. And in fact, they offer a great return in relation to the price of gold. There's tremendous leverage there. Our company alone, Gold Mining Inc., we have a large inventory of resource ounces. We have over 16 million ounces of inventory of measured and indicated gold resources, and another 16 million inferred gold equivalent resource ounces. So that's a tremendous store of value, but offers great leverage. So it only takes a small price movement in the price of gold to see a very significant price movement in our stock price.
Now, since we're on the topic of the prices of gold, obviously because it holds its value over time, that's one of the main reasons that I like to buy it. One thing though, when there are price pullbacks, when it's stacked against silver, crude oil, the S&P 500, gold always outperforms. Do you think this is mainly in part due to the fact that it's so finite that it can't be created? Why do you think it outperforms these other commodities?
Well, I think for the reasons you've mentioned, but the number one reason is its scarcity, and it's difficult to find, it's hard to explore, and that demands a premium. In relation to where it's found in the globe, there's a lot more silver available than there is gold. There's enormous, vast stockpiles of oil throughout the world, so that price will move up and down with those stockpiles and based on industry demand. What we have seen with the gold price, and certainly within the last 10 years, there's great information, stats available to show that the major global mining producers of gold throughout the world, their global reserves have been declining for the past 10 years. And in fact, they've declined to the sum of some 40% during that time period. And why is that? It's because in those leaner years, some of the companies cut out their exploration. Mm-hmm. They stopped exploring for it, and it created a gap. They can simply no longer right now replace with what they're finding exploration with what they're mining, so the reserves are going down. That creates an enormous demand for the metal. That creates a scarcity of the metal. That makes companies such as ours, like gold mining, the projects we have, in great demand. The major mining companies are looking for new projects. They haven't been able to replace them in their own pipeline, so they're on the hunt now for additional projects.
So, talking about gold's performances, I have a really interesting chart that I'm going to show the viewers. 2019 and 2020, they were incredible years for gold performance, in major currencies. 2021, we did see a pullback, which is something to note, but we haven't seen 2 years back to back. Yes, it could happen, but the likelihood is not really there. So do you see this as another indicator that it's a buying opportunity?
Oh, absolutely. I think while we will see perhaps a little chop in the water, I think the long-term trend and the long-term forecasting is for a higher gold price. I see no reason why that doesn't hold true. And certainly we have ourselves highly leveraged against the price of gold. When it goes up, it's great. But one of the advantages that we have as a company is we also have a very solid balance sheet. Many companies who are single project companies or smaller companies rely on one project. They're relying on funding for one entity to get it, and then if the price goes down, they're in a very limited optionality. Our company, because we have such a diverse portfolio, we have great optionality, and we have $100 million on our balance sheet. We have a great store of value with cash, but we also have 20 million shares of Gold Royalty Corp, a company we just spun out and created last year. And the value of those shares alone is worth almost $100 million. And as an added bonus for our shareholders, those shares that we own, Gold Royalty just announced they're going to start paying their first dividend at the end of March. So we'll have cash flow coming in to the tune of about $800,000 US per year in dividend income. Another huge advantage a lot of junior companies don't have.
Yeah, you don't really hear about that a lot. I've done a lot of these interviews with other junior miners, and you don't really hear a lot about the companies being aggressive with their dividend payouts. And since we're on the topic of Gold Mining Inc., ticker GLDG, which I have on the screen, your company's been around for over a decade. It's got a sound business model. How does the stock perform when gold spot price rises?
Well, as I say, because we have such a large inventory of quality gold projects throughout the Americas, typically what has been happened, and the trends have been very clear, is that as the price of gold rises, our price rises, but it's at a disproportionate rate. Because of that leverage we have to the price of gold, a small price increase in the gold price will actually translate to a stronger return on our share price, which is great for our shareholders if that trend goes forward. But I think we've also entered a new turn in the company where not only are we dependent and rely and can monitor the gold price, but one of the reasons I came to join this company just over a year ago, from over 25 years working for major mining and producing companies such as Newmont, Goldcorp, Kinross, Placer Dome, is that we can now advance our own projects forward and start to unlock value. And that is no better illustrated than what we did with the creation of Gold Royalty Corp last year. We wrote small royalties on our own portfolio of assets, put that into a new vehicle, did a public IPO launch, and now we're the largest shareholder. We own 20 million shares, and that's worth $100 million. And that was organic growth and value from our own portfolio. We have plenty of other opportunities like that going forward. We've started a couple of PEA studies in the past year. We announced one earlier this year on our La Mina project in Colombia, showing a great return, solid economics, and that will be, using it as a catalyst to drive a small exploration program there to further add to that. We've started another PEA, or preliminary economic assessment, on one of our high-grade open pit deposits in Brazil, which shows also very positive economics. We're doing follow-up work there. So for the first time in the company's history, we're actually now taking projects and we're into what I call a harvest mode, where we're unlocking that value which is hidden in a deep portfolio of assets. We can either unlock that with new cos or spin co ideas, such as with Gold Royalty, or we can start to move the projects forward ourselves and show and demonstrate how undervalued they are compared to any of the comparable companies or assets that are in the pipeline and other companies these days.
I was actually going to ask you about the different projects that you have right now that you're excited about. Can you name one in particular that you're most excited?
Well, I think the strength to our portfolio is in the size of it, and the diversification is key. We have 11 projects with resources on them. It's 32 million combined gold equivalent ounces, including 2.7 billion pounds of copper. 11 of those with resources is impressive for a company our size, but one project I would highlight is our La Mina project in Colombia, and it's great to highlight because we have just announced in January our preliminary economic assessment. It shows a production profile of over 1 million gold equivalent ounces in about a 10-year time frame. Solid, robust economics. It's got a low strip ratio. It's got a all-in sustaining cost per ounce, less than $700 per ounce. So strong economics, and as an added bonus, has tremendous upside. We see a possibility for finding a twinning of the deposit or a similar sized entity next door, and that makes us excited, and that's why we're planning on to do an exploration program to further expand the resources that we have at La Mina this year.
So let me ask you about your stock price. Right now, last I checked, it's around $1.85 a share. However, some analysts, they're projecting price targets of $5.75, upwards of $6 per share. Why are these analysts so bullish for your company's stock?
It's a great question, and I guess further strengthening that comment is that the quality of the analysts that support us is great. We have H.C. Wainwright and Roth, we have Laurentian Bank, we have Haywood, all sizable entities, all reputable firms. And I think what they're really recognizing is that within this portfolio, it seems almost forgotten that we have such a strong balance sheet. There's $100 million plus on the balance sheet alone, plus the resources. And I think one of the metrics in our industry that people like to compare against or measure against is the enterprise value, which is effectively your market cap less your balance sheet, less your cash and securities, divided by your gold in the ground, your resources. And our enterprise per resource ounce is incredibly low. It's less than $5 per ounce. And where it gets exciting is if you compare that to similar companies, and you can look at individual companies or a basket of companies, it's very easy to get comparables which are $20, $30, $40, even $50 per ounce as a comparable. So there's a fundamental value gap there. Probably has occurred because we've had projects we've had for a number of years, and we're now really just starting to daylight them and surface that value. But there's a huge win possible once we demonstrate the value, which we believe to be true, and as bearing up in our first PEA we've put out this year.
One of the things too about your analysts, I read that they're not just sitting behind the desk somewhere. They're actually visiting the projects personally, whether it be in Brazil or Colombia or Canada, speaking with the directors, speaking with yourself. It seems like they really have like a solid knowledge of the in and outs of the company.
Yeah, I absolutely would agree with that, and they do very thorough research. These are firms that have to answer to their own shareholders and their own companies for what they put out as research. And certainly, having been through the process of being interviewed and provided questions and answers for the teams, they are thorough. They're experienced in mining people and experienced finance people together, putting together business models, economic models, reviewing the technical information. So all that goes into third parties putting on their own reports what they think it's worth. So it's not just my word you have to take for it. You've got third parties can validate it, and people can do their own due diligence to investigate as well.
Now, you were talking about unlocking assets and to start reaping the rewards of the various projects that you have in place. Let's talk ounces in the ground. I was reading somewhere also in your investor relations materials that you have something around like an estimated 32 million ounces in the ground. Is that correct, or was I reading that incorrectly? Or
that is correct, and it is a shockingly impressive number. That's gold equivalent basis, so it's a combination of primarily gold. Over 80% of that on a commodity value is gold, but a little under 20% is from copper, and we also have a little bit of silver in there, but primarily gold. So we express that on a gold equivalent basis, and that is a very large number. And I would point out that those are all highly regulated reports and reporting that we do for those. It's 43101 compliant. It adheres to the strictest global standards for reporting of resources. We have third parties who've created that, and one of the exercises that we led with our team this past year is we actually created new resource updates on over 75% of the ounces in our portfolio to make sure they were fresh, make sure they were current, use current cost assumptions, not just in the metal price, but operating costs as well, the latest geological and engineering information to come up with stringent resource estimates so that they can be foundational. We can build upon those and they can be relied on.
I mean, it sounds like a lot of exciting things that are happening right now with the company, that you're on the cusp of like really skyrocketing. Do you have anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
Well, I would point out again, along with the optionality, we have the numerous projects in the Americas, in Canada, and the U.S., Brazil, and Colombia. There's one asset in our portfolio that's it's often forgotten about, and that is we actually even have a uranium asset.
You say uranium. I figured with Amir Adnani being involved with the company.
Yeah, and this was a legacy asset we acquired as a gold mining company. We're not focused on it, but I would point out that we have a very large land package in the Athabasca Basin in Canada that hosts some of the highest grade uranium deposits in the world. There's production grades there, some 100 times higher than the global average. We have 125,000 hectare land package there. We haven't been exploring it, but we have been looking at a number of juniors who are in the area exploring. They have smaller land packages, less prospective, and it's not hard to see them at 50 and $100 million market caps. And here we have this project in our portfolio, basically unrecognized, receiving zero recognition, and that could be a great candidate for a project that could be, our next spin out or spinco to unlock further value for our shareholders.
That's awesome. Really excited. I actually had Amir on the channel a few months back. Really, really good guy. Awesome information too that he had. Listen, I really do appreciate all of the time. Alistair, I'm going to have you on again, hopefully in the near future with, some more information for potential investors watching this video. And I'm going to have all of the information in the description below. Alistair, still, I really appreciate your time today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for having me on. Look forward to speaking again soon.
So I really am excited that Alistair was able to be on the show. Actually, after he and I stopped the recording of the video, it turns out that not only is he a stacker, he collects old coins, and he's a huge Star Wars fan. After we talked about that, not on video, I told him, all right, now you definitely have to come back for another interview. And I told him he has to show people his coin collection. And he said that he had some really old vintage Star Wars toys as well, like tonnage of the stuff. So you're going to definitely have to stay tuned for that. But like I said during the recording, all information on Gold Mining Inc. can be found down below. Definitely check them out. And again, thanks so much for watching. And real quick, before we end this video, are you holding physical gold? Are you investing in gold stocks? What is it that you are doing when it comes to investing and saving in gold? And I would like to quickly thank these elite channel supporters. And if you haven't already become a channel member, please check out the awesome perks and join today. With that, this is Empire Precious Metals. Until next time, long live the Empire.